Well, good afternoon. It is Tuesday, and our snow days are officially over. There still seems to be a little ice, I guess, in areas throughout the area, and on the way to school, taking Eli to drop him off, I saw a little bit of snow on the side of the road. But other than that, it's pretty much rain now. So it was hard to send him back. It's kind of heartbreaking. I hate to admit it. I'm one of those moms that wants my child home. So sending him was hard, although I know it's good for him to have a routine and to be back with his friends. It was difficult this morning, but they did have a 2-hour delay, and so he didn't have to go in immediately. So when he asked me this morning if we could play the Angry Birds game, we set it up on the table. I let him do a couple games this morning before he left for school. Then we took him and dropped him off. So he has officially been in school for a couple hours now. It's about 11:45. Also, I just kind of wanted to touch on this. I have been doing these videos now for a few weeks, and I have decided I'm going to be open about things that are currently going on in my life. So, you've watched me do workouts, you've watched me talk a little bit about business, which I can't wait to dive more in. And this is one of those videos that I decided today I'm just going to be completely open. And I talked about this a little bit last year. Last August, I started to become a little bit more open, I guess. I blogged about my miscarriage. I decided early in pregnancy, which I normally wait forever to tell people because I'm prone to miscarriage, I decided to share with everybody my pregnancy, no matter how far it ended, what happened with it. And it ended in a miscarriage I was measuring, I guess, at 10 weeks when I went to my 7-week appointment. But if I go by my schedule, I should have been 12, almost 13 weeks. And when I miscarried, I was 10 weeks by the doctor's standards. Would have been like 12, 13 weeks by mine. And, the baby was close to the size of like 12 weeks by that point. So don't quite know the time. We're saying 10 because of what the doctor stated. So we'll just go with that, because I had a little bit of cramping at the beginning of the miscarriage, and then everything seemed to be fine. I had ceased my workouts, and then I felt comfortable to dive in. I'm one person that's basically on bed rest when you are pregnant. And I dove into my workout, and 4 days later I lost the baby. So I'm terrified of working out when I'm pregnant. It's something that I have just decided. Most women are healthy. Most women can handle workouts. It's actually good for their body. A lot of doctors will suggest if you were active before, continue activity. Listen to your body, but continue. Well, I'm one of those women that you just put me on bed rest and I will check back in with you after the pregnancy. So my last pregnancy that went full term, well, almost. They took my little daughter at 38 weeks, was very, very complicated pregnancy. I was on bed rest for most of my pregnancy. I started having, some problems when I was only a few weeks pregnant with her, after I found out, I guess. So I was a little bit further. And then at 18 weeks, the contractions started every 5 minutes apart. If I even went down to Walmart a few miles from my home, the contractions would kick in really strong. So, it continued throughout my pregnancy, and she ended up being diagnosed with Down syndrome at birth. So it was just lots of things. They had to take her. I had hoped for a VBAC so badly because my first experience with C-section was emergency, and it was very traumatic for me. I was in complete shock and was kind of depressed a little bit after. I'll admit, I just felt like all the new mom stuff I was excited to do, I felt like, I had pain. I had a lot of pain, and I was just frustrated. I was really, really frustrated. And it took me a while. I was up and moving about, and I was active. Everybody thought, wow, you lost the weight real quick. You look great. You're so active. But if someone would bump my stomach, it still was tender. Even 3 years later, if Eli would bump me, it wasn't pain double over, but it was tender. So this was something when I found out that they were worried about her because I had excessive amniotic fluid. They were worried that I would have placenta abruption. And so they decided taking her 2 weeks early. We kind of kept monitoring her. I was seeing a specialist for the last little bit of my pregnancy. I had denied genetic testing. So, because to me it didn't matter what she was born with. That's who I was given, and that's who Heavenly Father wanted me to have. So, but I was monitored. I went in for weekly visits, not with just my doctor, but I also went to see a specialist. They did all the stress tests. They would do the weekly ultrasound. Sometimes we'd have a couple a week. I would have the ultrasound at the specialist. I'd have one at, the place where I was my doctor, I always need to keep note of my video. 5 minutes, it always goes black. Anyways, so they had me constantly being watched with her. And when her weight looked good enough, at least she was big enough that they felt comfortable enough to take her, that she had the best chance, they took her at 38 weeks via C-section. That was one thing we discussed, and my doctor knew I was going to be heartbroken, but we had talked about it, and he told me, we could discuss inducing, but, that always ups your chance for rupture. And with her problems, they didn't know what to expect. There was a chance of being stillborn. There was the chance of, they had no idea. Her heart looked good, which was uncommon for Down syndrome, but we were still waiting. The lungs had some problems a few weeks before. It didn't even look like it was developed at all. And almost overnight, prayers are awesome. I can't even talk about it, so I won't even go into that. But a few weeks later, her lungs had developed and her body started to form, which it hadn't. So they took her early, and we were shocked. She didn't go into the NICU. She did get treated for jaundice, but that was it. She was able to stay in my room as she had the little sunglasses on, and they watched her. So pregnancy is really tough on my body. It's just something that some women can pop out babies and be fabulous. For me, it was a little more difficult. But after I had her, I was determined to rebuild my stomach and determined to not feel what I felt before. So the one thing I researched heavily was the BellaFit medical corset, which is my love. It is seriously was amazing. I had ordered it in time. The plan was to have it before I went to the hospital. So I ordered it right before I had, was scheduled. When all of a sudden when they scheduled my C-section, and I was anticipating it, but not really, I immediately ordered it. And I thought, okay, I ordered it. It'll be here. I ordered it on a Wednesday. It'll be here by Friday when I have her. By the time I go home, I'll have my thing, because it was supposed to be here in like 2 or 3 days. And the postal people lost my package. It was on the delivery trucks, the guy's delivery truck, for a week. My husband went down to the post office, chewed everybody out, and said, my wife is in pain. She ordered this, and lo and behold, they found it. They couldn't decide where it was at. They didn't know which town it was in. One town said they didn't have it. The other town had it. The other town said they didn't have it. The other place had it, and he had it on his truck the whole time. Didn't even leave me a note. How crazy is that? I was not a happy camper. But once I got it and I put it on, my pain level went from like a 9 down to like a 4. And 8 days after I'd had her, I was, scrubbing floors. I was in my bathroom scrubbing the floors. I so badly wanted to scrub during my whole pregnancy, but couldn't. And so it was something that I really believe strongly was the reason why I was able to dive into workouts. My doctor gave me the okay to start Insanity. Yes, he knew I was doing Insanity. And he gave me the okay at 7 weeks. So you have to listen to what your doctor tells you. But without the corset, I could tell you, I promise you I couldn't have done those workouts. And I wore it. Now with my son, I wore a girdle just to keep my stomach feel normal. Not for size or anything, because I had gotten down, lost the weight, but just to make my stomach feel halfway okay. I wore it for almost a year and a half. With her, I think I wore it for about 6 months maybe. 6 months, because I did want it secured on me when I was working out, and it made all the difference. So I think it's fabulous. So like I said, pregnancy is rough on me. After I have them, it's a little rough because C-sections are not the most fun. Although women have had problems with, giving birth naturally too. So it's just how your body is, how your body recovers. For me, it's a little bit more difficult and a little bit more challenging. So as we dive into this, since I said I'm being open, I haven't felt good the last little bit. And last month, I didn't feel good either. And I was 4 days late, and I had taken a pregnancy test, and it didn't really look like it was. I couldn't tell. It was kind of indecisive. But later that day, I kind of had what resembled like an early miscarriage, maybe a chemical pregnancy. I wasn't sure. And I felt awful. And we had our state conference that weekend. And my daughter wasn't feeling good. So her and I just stayed home, and I just kind of rested and then dove back into my life, as soon as I felt my body was fine, which didn't take that long. But I kind of thought maybe it's not over. And so here we are 4 days later, or a month later, 4 days late again. And I felt like crap yesterday. Felt awful. And after I did my workout, a few hours later, I started getting this resemble cramping feeling that is all too familiar. Since I miscarried, I'm very, very familiar with it. And I kind of had a feeling, I wasn't sure, and I debated it. And so, you know, I didn't want to chance anything. 5 minutes again. I didn't want to chance anything, and so I went, you know, swung in after taking Eli to school this morning, and lo and behold, we have 2 lines. 2. Yes. Ugh. 2. So I thought it would hit me like 4.5 weeks maybe. I don't know. Very, very early. I don't know what will happen. I could totally miscarry. I could totally not. Usually if I miscarry early in pregnancy, it'll be very, very faint, the second line. When it shows up dark as dark can be immediately, I usually carry it at least, you know, 9-10 weeks. So here's me checking out of my workouts for a while, guys. I know Autumn does a fabulous one that I've heard wonderful things about for pregnancy, especially even in your, you know, your earlier trimester, the first trimester, but I am scared to do them. I'll be honest, I'm too afraid to. Most women can go on and do it. Maybe I will check back in with yoga if things go well with this one and it stays. I might check into some yoga second trimester. I don't know. But here's my focus. Because I don't want to get out of control with this, I'm going to focus on healthy eating. Clean eating is now my focus. I'm just going to kind of change where I was going. So this morning, instead of my workout, I went ahead, got showered, got ready, and said, okay, here's some strict meal planning. Now I do understand that my calories will have to increase. From what I've understood, but check with a nutritionist or your doctor, but usually like 50 to 100 calories in the beginning of your pregnancy. When you get later into it, you're looking at more like 300 calories, but check, obviously check. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just seeing what I read and what I've heard. But so right now, you know, you could have like an extra piece of string cheese and you've already upped your calories, if that's what you decide to go with. So right now it's major meal planning, being strict. I've been kind of on and off with my meal plan, you know, maybe give a little bit, haven't measured as much as I should be. So the containers are coming back out. Yes, I love the containers. The color containers are fabulous. So I'm pulling those out, and I am just going to dive into staying healthy, eating clean, and I think that's what my challenge groups will be focused around. For at least my side, you know, I do encourage the workouts, and I will do challenge groups for women working out when they're, you know, whether they're pregnant, not pregnant, whatever. But for me, my focus is now clean eating, at least until however long. We'll see. We'll see if this ends in a few weeks. It could, which is heartbreaking, but I've had so many, my heart is a little more okay with it. It's when I start hitting 9-10 weeks that I do struggle. I mean, that breaks my heart, but right now, we'll just see what happens, and if I go all the way to October 22nd, I can't even tell you, that I had this thing, 40, I was not having kids after 40. That was my cutoff. So last month when I had my little whatever, I was like, well, September 22nd, we were fine. I was like a couple weeks before my birthday, but now it's going to be a couple weeks after my birthday. And I told my husband this morning I'm slightly disappointed because I hate the thought of being 40 and fat and pregnant. 40 and fat and pregnant on my birthday. That makes me ill. I know that's vain. That is so incredibly vain. But that's not what I had planned. I had not planned it, but it is what it is. So here is me saying day 1 of pregnancy. Alrighty. I will chat with you guys later, and here it is. Bye.